Right now, this doesn't look like much, just a splash, bit random, bit messy, definitely chaotic. But what if I told you it was one of the most powerful ways to prepare for an urban sketch? Not pencil lines, not endless planning, no, just colour, trust, and energy. This simple hack can rewire how you think about sketching, get you responding to what happens on the page, and get you sketching quicker, looser, and perhaps even having a lot more fun. And I first want to show you in the studio what we're looking for and why we're looking for it, and why this idea isn't just ridiculous. If I'm already boring you, just use the timestamps below and you can skip to the sketching. But otherwise, let me tell you why this is helpful psychologically and for our sketching. One of the most underrated skills in sketching isn't drawing or the ability to paint well, it's seeing. And not just seeing the literal scene, but seeing the possibilities. Seeing something from something abstract and making your vision happen on the page. Making a splash on the page is simple. A little bit of water, a little bit of pigment, and then just let it dry and see what it looks like. These splashes can be made in a few minutes at home, in the studio, or even when you're out and about. And within these splashes there are edges, there are textures, there's randomness. And within that we can find things. If we allow ourselves to really just look and see and find within the splash what is happening, we move into the relaxing part of our brain, the part of our brain which looks for patterns. It's the same part of our brain which activates if we get out into green space, into nature. We see patterns and it's relaxing. It's genuinely got scientific evidence that being in nature, because of the patterns, looking at these fractal patterns, repeating patterns, makes us feel happier. It encourages divergent thinking, which is a term from sort of creative research. Divergent thinking is the idea that we can see multiple possibilities. Instead of converging onto one thing, we can look within the splash and think, oh, well, this could be a frog. Maybe this is a house. Maybe I can ignore the splash. I can actually just draw over the splash and the splash will add excitement to whatever else I choose to put in it. So from there we can be bold, we can be creative, we can make decisions, and we can learn that being bold and creative and making decisions leads to a good outcome. Anyway, that's enough of my dodgy psychology lesson for today. Should we start sketching? Back in the studio now, I just want to show you a couple of little ideas to get you started before we head outside and have a bit of fun. So firstly, a nice big brush is all you need for a lovely splash. This is a size 24 round, and all I do, add a big blob of water on the page, not too much, and then some pigment. Now I use some Liquitex acrylic ink. That creates amazing textures, but equally we can use our watercolours, and the watercolours are what I use for this splash just here. Just by allowing them to do things, by flicking the colours around, adding just a couple of pigments, you get something interesting. And then we can start looking. Look at the textures here. Look at the granulation. Does that bring anything to you? Find these shapes, this little square formed by the purple, these lines formed by this red. These could be the starting points for how you start seeing your scene. Now, I'm going to just go ahead and start sketching, drawing some outlines here. But in a moment, we'll head outside, and instead of doing it from my imagination, what I'll do is I'll do it from a scene in front of me, because this is a really flexible technique. You can do this shape and make it what you want, or you can fit something in the world onto your page. From drawing this shape, it becomes a tree, and then I can add perhaps a fence behind the back of it. Why not? And then I can go, right, okay, if this is working, we'll add a few textures here and there. Then we can move elsewhere and find other things to add to our scene. Perhaps we find a building in the background. Does it fit our splash, or does it fit our imagination? It doesn't really matter which way we're going. It just seems to be all right. It just seems to work for me. So as I'm just allowing myself to go through this process, allowing myself to explore, that is what happens. And like that, we can just keep exploring. Blobs can turn into animals, adding a little bit more life. We can find squares and rectangles, try and work out what they are. Maybe they are road signs or signs coming off the buildings.
And gradually we can refine our sketch, add more details, keep going. Little things can be little things can be abstract, and marks which seem like nothing can turn into, you know what, a giant apple. I'm not sure why a giant apple is in our scene, but a giant apple is in our scene. Finally, we can bring out a little bit more contrast, redefine and restate the lines which are working, and let's call it magic. But actually it's not magic, it's just a simple process. We get something which I think is pretty fun.
So I've been for a lovely little walk through town, and I've got one of my favourite sketching spots. If you are, by the way, interested in joining me outside sketching, you can check out urbansketch.co.uk, and I have a few exciting dates in various places in the UK, including probably this very spot. We're inviting some people to come and sketch with me, and it's time then to take our splatters into the wilderness. I've got this fantastic little bit of kit. This is a sketching companion from Just Go Sketching, and it really does just help stabilise your work. As we've been talking about, these splatters are our, well, if this is our sketching companion, this is our creative companion, and it lets us just have a bit of freedom. So I've got the world in front of me, and what I'm going to do in this first one, I'm going to go for this lovely, let's call it emotional red one first. I'm going to find edges in there which kind of feel like my scene, but I'm also going to just ignore the splatter if it doesn't feel sort of relevant. And I have this really interesting scene in front of me, and I'm just going to kind of pick out my frame of it. My frame is going to be the bit which calls out to me most. And then I've got this nice, I feel like there's an edge coming down here. So that's the edge of our most important building. And what I like about that is if I bring my edge down here, we've got that starting point, but we've also got this big sky. So you just sort of talk yourself through it, talk yourself into making interesting decisions. Here's the top, perhaps, of the roof. And am I seeing things which are real? Am I inventing things, being wishful in my thinking? Doesn't really matter if I am, does it? So here with these details, I'm very much just ignoring what's going on elsewhere in the scene. You might move things around. So here I've moved the door over because it didn't quite sort of fit in the space where it might have gone otherwise. And we might add things, we might ignore things. So seeing the world is about, yes, seeing the world in a very literal sense. But it's also about seeing your sort of vision of the world and being confident to change things, treat the reference as that, a reference. Now, because I'm sort of pre-prepared my splash, I get to spend a bit more time today just doing tiny little focuses of detail with my ink. So a few little windows perhaps can come in, and some bits of hatching as I get a bit more confident in my scene. So under here we've got a little bit of a chimney poking out, and that comes down like that. Got another chimney poking out here, and that comes across. All of this is what I call relative measurement. These are the kind of things we talk about in my beginner's course and in my free course. So if you want to check that out, do check out the links below. But relative measurement is the idea of just taking one object, comparing it to another, and then you find your approximate scene. Doesn't have to be exact, just approximate. What's next? Come down here. Got a little funny rumple in this building. In front of it is a car. Do we need to include the car? No. Can we include the car? Yes, why not? This time today. The car wasn't actually there when I sat down, so it won't be there in a few minutes. So again, I don't have to include it, but a bit of fun to just have a go and draw a little abstract silhouette of a car there. Then I'm going to move over a tiny bit more, and we're coming to the edge here of our splash. We're also coming to the edge of my little frame of this scene, where the tree just glides over the top of our scene, obscuring quite a few details. And that means we can start thinking about how we're going to make our scene finish and frame off on this side. So here, this splash is quite intense, this red is quite deep. So perhaps we're missing a little bit of structure. So I'm now going to just focus on that. get that contrast into the line with a nice bold line. Look at that, if I press a bit harder, we get that much bolder line, and that sits proud. I can use that same press with my ink to create a few more contrasts in these windows. I love this splash. I wasn't sure what to do with it initially, but I said I was going to move over here, but I've just seen it, and there's a big chimney here. So this big chimney, look at that, overlapping that splash. That is the kind of thing which makes a Toby happy. Good, we'll call it a plan coming together. I think that's being very generous to me. It's good luck, and that's what a lot of sketching is. A bit of randomness, a bit of planning, and a lot of just seeing what's happening. If you're not using a fountain pen, you can still press a bit harder, but with a fine liner that won't do a huge amount for your line. You can just change pen, get a slightly bolder fine liner. The advantage of a fountain pen is its ability to do multiple types of line, not just the one type of line. Now if we come forward, there's lots of stuff to think about in the foreground. We've actually got a railing which runs through the scene, and I think that's quite important because we're missing something here. We're missing something interesting here. So I'm going to get my idea of that railing. I don't have to press as hard here because we're not fighting so much with the ink. We've just got our white page and a few interesting splatters. Underneath we've got the wall of this canal, and then we've got interesting kind of plants and things coming up, coming all the way into the foreground. And I'm going to get this kind of as a little leading line. It leads us hopefully into our scene, which is over here. And then on this side it feels like maybe we could do something else. So maybe we can just do a little suggestion of that. It's got some interesting sort of shapes, big branches billowing out. And then that can explain why we've left a lot of this detail out here. Just finding a kind of my version of this tree, at least. It's not a perfect version, it's my version. Maybe my version is perfect, you never know. You never know. Feels a bit arrogant to say that there, doesn't it? I'm going to take that back. My version's definitely not perfect, and it doesn't have to be. It has to just be my version. And then what we're missing is an understanding that this is a wall. So, some vertical hatching. For me, that explains vertical hatching, vertical surface. So we can pair very simple vertical hatching going along here with some of our textures. I can do more of our brick marks. Just coming along like that. A few more of the brick marks down here as well. And then I could do some bolder lines now, because this will separate out the distance. So even with this really simple process, we get to think so much about composition, about foreground, background, weight of line, framing our scene, and hopefully end up with something quite cool. Now, is there anything else that's jumping out? I quite like the idea of adding a few more shadows. It's actually very sunny today, so there aren't a huge amount of shadows except like immediately behind objects. But I'm going to kind of induce some shadows on the right hand side. There we go, we'll come down, and I'm just finding that maybe I can get a little bit more structure. And even, oh go on, let's be brave. I love being able to just explore ink like this, spending time, not feeling the need. I don't need to rush on and add colour. We've got the colour. We've got that bold, brave splash. Preparation makes for a easier process, or just a different process. But in this case, I think a very relaxing way to create, find a scene. And there we go. Let's pop our initials on. And then, is there anything else we could do? And yes, the answer is there is. So let's just try something a little bit silly out, a little bit of fun. Now, here I've got some of my favourite things ever. Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2. I've done a few videos on them recently with my channel. I would love to be sponsored by them, but I'm not. Sadly, I had to buy all of these myself. But if anyone from Caran d'Ache is watching and you fancy giving me free stuff, I'll gladly take it. That's my sales pitch. But what these are, is they are lovely, vivid, bright crayons. I know they sort of try and call themselves pastels, but they're made of wax, so I'm afraid they're a crayon. That infantilises our art a little bit, makes us children, and I think sketching like a child is a fantastic place to be. So with these, they are also opaque. What that means is if I use it, for example, let's pop a little line on here, it sits on top. So unlike watercolour, but it's opaque. If I layered it up enough, you really wouldn't be able to see through it. However, they're also water soluble. So if I add a few of these little opaque marks, and maybe I'm choosing sort of brighter colours here. That was a bit of a periwinkle blue, they call it, and this is just a simple white. And here we can add like highlights back into our splash, the top of roofs, into some of the windows. You get little reflections. We'll take this bit of light olive. We'll just scratch a few marks in there. And then I think this is a slightly darker one. Yes, dark olive, conveniently next to each other. And we kind of here loaded the page with a little bit of pigment. I'm going to pop these guys away. So they are Neocolor 2s. And I'm going to get out, just from a pocket, a water brush. The water brush got this reservoir of water in it. Got a little push button, says push on it. When I push, water comes out. And that means I can take these marks and look, I can soften them. So that almost disappears if I put a lot of water on it. But I can move it around and get this kind of light glazing effect as well. These greens then, I'll be able to lift and move and use to fill out around these reds. So now we've got this what it basically is, it's red and green, which is a complementary colour scheme. The colour scheme is, again, something I love thinking about, love using, and they're a great way to work out how to simplify your art, but have it probably still work, rather than simplify and end up with a bit of a mess. And there we go. I think that one's done. Pretty fun. I actually really like how that's turned out, especially given how brave, almost aggressively brave, the splash was. Don't forget, there's a longer version of this video in the members area. You can find that with the link down below, or just going to my channel, clicking members. In that, I do the full process of sketching all of my splashes. No sped up bits, just a little bit of extra waffle for you to listen to, if that's what you're into. All for the price of less than a coffee a month. Now I think it's time to go and get a coffee.